Welcome to the Layin the Body podcast. I'm Terrence.
And I'm Lucas.
And this is a place to be for head rushing shots of hockey. We're back.
And frustrated.
Congratulations. We're here for 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, okay. We're finally back. 2 weeks in a row. Everyone's full health. We got back and we're angry.
Yeah, the Islanders are on a beautiful skid.
It's not really a skid.
Oh, it's a skid. We've lost 3 of the past 4. We're 5-5 in the past 10. And, 4 of those losses have been on the road. 0-4 on the freaking road. So,
well, the good thing
push that to the side.
The good thing is
we're going to get into the trades,
though,
because there have been the players. Some big pieces
our last
been
podcast,
producing.
Yes, our last podcast was pre-trade deadline the day before, and we made some predictions about the trades. We went over the trades that
I got right, by the way. Islander Ranger game. Paul Mary scored his first goal, and damn well he scored his first goal.
I got the prediction right of a certain someone going to a certain team
and he's already scored 2 goals against the Islanders. Yes, indeed.
We'll talk about that in a second, but we're gonna go through the trades really quickly.
We're really just gonna rush over the bigger ones. Them. So
we started off last time. What happened was on April 10th there was a trade. David Savard, we already talked about that on the last podcast.
So we're going to kick it off where it starts on April 11th, and we're going to start off with...
Jonas Siegenthaler went to the Devils for conditional Capitals third, and the Capitals made some big moves in this trade deadline, which we'll get to later
on. Let's see. Nick Foligno, this is probably one of the bigger ones. Toronto receives Nick Foligno, and in return, I think it's great for the Blue Jackets. They get a first round in 2021 and a fourth in 2022.
Mm-hmm. It was more of a type of 3-way trade with the Sharks and the Blue Jackets and the Maple Leafs again, which happened more of like the Sharks with a cap dump type of thing for Foligno. And now Foligno to the Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets... A+ for me for this trade deadline.
Trade,
they got 2 first-round picks.
They stocked up on picks. They know that they're rebuilding, so very good.
They're not even that much rebuilding.
They have pieces, but they stocked up on picks.
Yeah, they're retooling, which is I think is very smart for the Blue Jackets.
They're pulling a Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Nick Foligno I think is going to help out the bottom 6, even though he hasn't played yet due to quarantine. And yeah, I think that would be pretty good.
And speaking of Bill Belichick, or in this case, teams that are from Boston, the Bruins received Mike Riley from the Senators. In return, the Senators received a 2022 third-round pick. Yeah, it's just a depth piece. Again, on the back end, they've been struggling on the defensive end this year.
And they're just getting depth right there. I mean, Mike Riley,
I not giving him much.
Solid.
It's a third-round
He was on Ottawa. No one really,
No one cares about Ottawa.
But, so the Mike Riley... pretty solid pick up there for the Bruins, especially in those 2 games against the Islanders. I saw he was playing very solid.
Agreed. And another guy who's been playing pretty solid so far. Toronto Maple Leafs getting some goalie help with David Rittich. Big save Dave. In return, Flames are going to be getting a 2022 third-round pick. Again, Freddie Anderson being out for no one knows when he's coming back. So
yeah, Freddie Anderson's been a weird one this year. I mean, Dave Rittich is going to be a good insurance option there, as Jack Campbell's been a guy who's been hot this year, and Dave Rittich will be good as a third string, which is weird to say that he's the third string.
But indeed, and probably the biggest trade of the free agency period.
One of them.
Bruins.
They got Taylor Hall, which I called.
And they get Curtis Lazar.
I called the Bruins getting Taylor Hall.
You did, but
not at this price.
At this price, the Sabres are only getting a 2021 second-round pick and Anders Bjork in return for Paul and Lazar. We're going to get into that in a few, but of how they're doing, but he's been playing great.
Another big trade. Jeff Carter went to the Penguins for a conditional third and a conditional fourth in 2023, conditional third in 2022. I didn't really understand this depth move for the Penguins. I don't know where you would really put him. Jeff Carter, an old forward.
I think they kind of just took... I think they took him because Malkin's injuries and everything, just to have him, and then when they get back, he'll probably be like a fourth liner.
Mm-hmm. Another one that caught my mind a little bit, Dmitry Kulikov for a 2022 conditional draft pick. Dmitry Kulikov went to the Oilers from the Devils. I think that's some good depth for the team, as Dmitry Kulikov is a solid guy, who could add some physicality and some better defense.
And to add some depth pieces, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be receiving a 2022 fifth-round pick and Matthias Janmark, some depth at the forward position. In return, the Blackhawks receive a 2021 second-round pick and a 2022 third-round pick. I think this is a great trade for both teams. Depth for Vegas, especially for a cup in Chicago.
Janmark's been very, very good. I think the price was a little bit steep.
I think Chicago wins the trade in my eyes, but
I think the price was a little bit steep, but I think Matthias Janmark is still a solid guy. Vegas is going all in, rightfully so. And yeah, like, it's just very, very good. Very good for this team. I mean, I love this trade. Matthias Janmark's been very hot recently, and it's very nice for this team to do it. Carl Soderberg went back to the Avalanche, a little 2017 reunion of when they were god-awful, for just a few prospects. Good depth for Colorado. They don't need anything else but depth. They're solid. They're the best team in the league right now. On all cylinders, 9-1 in their last 10. Nothing you can really do. Sam Bennett went to a long-time trade, always in trade rumors there in Calgary. Finally got traded. Kind of a little bust, that you would say. Went to the Florida Panthers with a 6th-round pick for Andy Hemelin and a 2nd-round pick. I think a 2nd-round pick for someone who is not very good, like who's been underperforming, like less than a 30-point man in his career, is great value that the Calgary Flames got back. And who knows, maybe Florida can revitalize him. Maybe you need a new change of scenery. But we'll see how it goes.
So we're just going to skip to this one. This is arguably the biggest trade of the deadline, and it was the final trade of the deadline, coming in, I think, 30 seconds left?
Mm-hmm.
The Washington Capitals. So I personally think this price is a little steep.
I think it was steep, too. I think
it's going to be a great
I think it was a trade that was made at the final minutes of the deadline, and they said, like,
we're doing it.
I think it was at the final minute, and it was like kind of like a pressure deal.
Like here, so Washington receives Anthony Mantha in return, and this is the steep price. Red Wings receive Jacob Vrana, love Vrana, Richard Panik, who's a good depth forward, and then they also receive a 2021 first-round pick and a 2022 second-round pick. I think it's a little steep, but
Richard Panik's more of a cap release, and it's more of a cap dump. And Jacob Vrana, in my opinion, is just as good as Anthony Mantha, but different style. And they also gave up a first and a second. I think the price is steep. Anthony Mantha has been playing decent from what I've seen on the Washington Capitals. And it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to impact the Capitals in the future. But they gave up a lot, and they're going all in on Anthony Mantha to pick up his production and to be X Factor.
And speaking of picking up production and being the X Factor, let's talk about, I feel like really just touch on these two mainly, who have already helped their teams by giving them some depth production. Let's keep in the same wheelhouse. Let's stick with Anthony Mantha. He's already got his first goal as Washington Capital. He's been playing really well. On and off the puck, he's a force. Again, time will tell, is this piece worth it? Are the Washington Capitals a real contender this year? If not, I think the price was way too steep and it's a bust, but we will see. As for the other one, Taylor Hall's already got 2 goals for the Bruins.
We'll talk about that.
Both are against the Islanders, but yeah, even with Curtis Lazar, I know he hit an empty netter, but he's been doing pretty well overall. So,
no, yeah, I like Curtis Lazar. I think, look, in the playoffs, you need those depth pieces. You need players that on your bottom 6 that could produce goals in big moments, and Curtis Lazar is one of those forwards, I feel. And yeah, that's a big piece for Boston, and they're finally heating up at the right time, right at the end of the season. But those are the big trades that we just swiftly went over, because our mind is a little bit on other things right now that we want to talk about, and we want to try and make this podcast around 30 minutes. But, I mean, there's a bunch of other trades that I think are good depth pieces, like Raffle went to the Capitals as well. The Jets got more defensive help with Jordy Ben. Madison Bowie went to the Canucks. We got more like Goodbranson to the Predators, who are trying to maybe do something. Gustafsson for a 7th-round pick. The Flyers did nothing.
Yeah, in my eyes, I think Montreal kind of fleeced them.
Yeah, I think Gustafsson's decent.
Even
though he hasn't been a good year. He's a
good depth piece.
Like Coburn to the Islanders for a 7th. Good, solid depth move.
We might be benching Scott Mayfield, so
we'll see how that goes. But I mean, John Merrill to the Canadiens, who's a very solid D-man, who's going to help out that D-core. I do like that. Very cheap for him. And, yeah, we swiftly just went over these trades because we want to... if the Islanders weren't playing this bad, then we probably would have went more into depth on these trades and went into it. But we want to keep this podcast short, and we want to be...
A little bit of rage content coming up.
Yeah.
So, Terrence, should we just hop into
No,
scores?
we're gonna hop into some scores. Okay?
We'll do that one last.
So we're gonna do Friday, April 16th, because we're filming this on Saturday, April 17th. Friday, April 16th. Not a lot of games played. Only 4. Game that was postponed was the Avalanche because of a little
COVID outbreak.
issue.
So I think we should just hop into this though. Canadiens Flames. Canadiens are gonna win 2-1. Really well played, really well defensive played game for these two teams that have been up and down so far this year. Very good game by both teams.
Yeah, I think the Canadiens are going to keep that 4th spot in the division because the rest of the division is so god awful. So I mean, the Canadiens got to get something out of it. They traded for Eric Stahl. They traded for John Merrill. They traded for they traded for Eric Gustafsson, all to help out that back end, to help out the veteran presence on the team. And look, in this game, I know that the Flames aren't the biggest test, but they only let up 1 goal. Jake Allen with the win. I mean, maybe I didn't really watch the game, but Eric Gustafsson and John Merrill were 2 of the players that were big ads at the trade deadline for them, and seems to be working dividends
for sure. As for a team that, like you said, holding on to a spot and going to keep going, and then a team that's kind of at the bottom, Minnesota Wild against San Jose Sharks. Minnesota wins 3-2.
I mean, Minnesota surprisingly didn't make big trades at the deadline.
To be honest with you, I don't think I don't think it was
Sharks didn't unload anyone that I thought that they were going to do.
Yeah, Sharks were a little bit of a surprise to me. I think the Wild, they did the right thing. I think they could have added a depth piece or two for really very minimal return, but I don't think this was the year to go after a big piece. They have a very young core. They're struggling with the cap, so they really can't afford to bring in those people. And guess what? It's quote unquote come out of a rebuild. So see where they go from there.
Yeah, and then the final game. Well, not the final game, but
final game we're going to talk about before we get into the Rage masterpiece.
4-0 Golden Knights Ducks. I mean, the Golden Knights win. The Vegas Golden Knights win over the Anaheim Ducks 4-0. I mean, Matthias Janmark, no points on the board for that trade, but Carlson, Stevenson, Waugh, and McNabb score. This team's just a Stanley Cup contender, beating up on a low-life team like the Ducks right now at the moment. So
something surprising to me about the Ducks is I'm surprised they didn't move any pieces. I'm surprised
Getzlaf is still there. Getzlaf was said to be moved to
Getzlaf is
Vegas.
dying a Duck, simple as that.
Yeah, and I like to see him die a Duck. That would be great to see.
Well, on to our final game of the night.
The Islanders lost to the Bruins 3-0.
First time being shut out in a while.
Yeah, first time being by Jeremy Swayman, his first shutout in his career. Swayman. Okay. Sorokin got the loss, but you can't blame anything on him.
There was nothing he could do. Obviously, that third goal being an empty netter. Scott Mayfield threw the game. Both of those goals were completely on him. The first goal, he literally chased. Again, it's a defenseman marking a forward. And he decided, let me chase the defenseman Charlie McAvoy around the zone, who didn't have the puck, and he leaves arguably the Bruins' most dangerous guy in the slot, David Pastrnak, with 2.4 seconds left in the first. He roofs it. Coming out of the second, Taylor Hall proceeds to just basically make Scott Mayfield look like he's standing still, which he was because he looked like a pylon. Walked right around him, and that is going to be goal number 2. That was in 47 seconds into the second. So really 2 minutes of hockey, not in real time, but 2 minutes of game time. The Islanders just fell apart, and they couldn't recover from that.
Well, they didn't really fall apart. I feel like
they played well in the
total. They played a good game.
Yeah, but they could not.
It's just their power play.
Their power play's god awful. They're battling some injuries right now with Bale and Clutterbuck out. But God help me, Scott Mayfield. It's to the point where I feel like Trotz might need to bench somebody like that. Like, can't bench Barzal. It's physically, you just can't. But Mayfield, you have the depth defense to do that. I feel like he's someone that you should bench for a game and see where that goes. Because to be honest with you, this has not been his finest year. He has been horrible, for I want to say at least the 60 to 70% of this year. He's had his flashes, but outside of that, he's been so bad. And at this point, coming down the stretch, you got to prove a point. I'm not saying take him out of the lineup completely, but even if you want to bench him for a game or two and then bring him back in and see what he can do, I think that's what you got to do at this point if you're Barry Trotz.
I mean, we just added a depth piece in Braden Coburn.
That's my
Maybe
point.
you put him in.
That's why I'm saying I think this is the time that you can afford to do that.
But, look, I think Scott Mayfield, even though he's not having his finest year, is a key part of this team.
He's a key part of the team, but he has
He's
to...
a key part of the team.
Dude, that's like saying Bailey. Like, Bailey's another player. Like, I know he's hurt right now, but if you're not producing, and if anything, if you're not producing, fine. But if you're helping, if you're not producing on the score sheet, fine. As long as you're helping the team in other ways. But if you are not producing on the score sheet and you're actually hurting the team, you have to do something if you're Barry Trotz. You have to bench him for a game or two. Because for Bailey, for Mayfield, the fact that I'm saying Leo Komarov has been playing better hockey than the two of them should say more than enough.
But here's the I think that Scott Mayfield is not having his finest year, but at the same time, he has no cap. Like, his cap hit is at 1.4.
What's your point, though? It shouldn't
He's
apply.
a cheap defenseman, and he's a good defenseman at the end of the day.
Yes, at the end of the day, but there has to be a point proven and a lesson learned in this case. And as an Islander fan and as someone who knows where this goes, you have to generate momentum going into the playoffs. The Islanders were lucky enough that there was a huge gap last year because they had lost 7 straight and probably weren't going to make the playoffs and ended up somehow being in the Eastern Conference Final. You're not going to get that this year. You have to generate momentum going into the playoffs like you did a few years back when you played Pittsburgh, and you got to run with it. You can't have players like that just screwing your team entirely. Like, don't get me wrong, the team 2 nights ago did not show up. They showed up last night for the most part, but they can't be playing the way they are. They will not get anywhere, and to be honest with you, they might fall to the 4th spot. Or at this rate, I highly doubt they would miss playoffs.
Look,
but if they do not change their ways, if the Rangers and Bruins stay hot, we could see something.
I think you're overreacting a little bit.
I said I can't imagine them missing playoffs.
But I think
if they don't change, I
don't think a 2-game skid is something to be.
It's not necessarily a 2-game skid, even in the wins. Some of the wins.
I know, but like teams have 5-5. Like, teams have low stretch.
I'm not looking at record. I'm looking at how they even play in their wins.
I know
the losses they don't show, but in the wins they've gotten very lucky. Dude, 2 of their wins were 3.
Like, look, Toronto was losing like 5-6 in a row middle of the season.
Yes,
but after they were hot as a pistol. And now they're back hot as a pistol.
Okay, great.
It's one of the hottest teams in the league.
Well, I'll put it this way. The Islanders hit 2-goal leads on Philly twice and almost blew it, and they won both those 3-2 in a shootout. They had a 2-goal lead on the Rangers, blew that lead, should have lost that game because the Rangers missed 4 wide open nets and hit a few posting crossbars in the 3rd period. Islanders win that game 3-2 in overtime. You can't be. We're known for defense, dude. You can't be blowing 2-0 leads.
I know that it's concerning. It does look concerning. But here's the thing: like, the team, you got to trust in the team. The team has been overall good. And going back out to Scott Mayfield, our PK percentage is 10th in the league.
I'm not saying anything.
And
about that.
I think Scott Mayfield is a big part of that PK. And here's the thing: like. Of course, you got Pelech, you got Polak, who are both playing amazing.
The Pelech will back me up.
I know.
Okay, Scott Mayfield is a part of it, but if you look at the defensemen that play the majority of the time,
yes, I know.
Mayfield would be 4th in that time. You don't really see Dobson. You don't really see. You know what? No, other way around. I take that back. It's Pelech and Polak, and then you'll see Letty and Green. Bottom 2, and Mayfield gets time, but it's very rare, dude. It's normally Green and Letty out there, and then Pelech and Pollock out there. And occasionally you'll see Mayfield switch for one of those Letty or Green. It's
frustrating. Look, it's frustrating, but...
And we're taking a lot of bad penalties. At Matt Barzell, thank you for your 40 penalty minutes and 15 high-sticking penalties this year.
I'm... Out of all the players, I'm getting on Maddie for that. Like, 40 penalty minutes.
He has more penalty minutes than points.
It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand. Like,
and he's 38 points.
Our next highest penalty minute is Scott Mayfield, 34.
Yeah, you're not really helping his case now.
Yeah, but like
No, but dude, the team as a whole has taken some really dumb penalties this year. A lot of high sticks, a lot of bad calls, and it can't continue. It can't.
Look, but I'm looking at these stats right now. Like Scott Mayfield is third on time on ice per game. Third. And no, he's actually fourth. My bad. But look, it's the team is. I feel like the teams go through slumps. Like I said, and it's really tough. Like I said, to see this go this way. But look, teams go through slumps. He's gonna be back. I know he's gonna be back. It's gonna be all good because a team of this caliber, a team that's this good. Lou says if you're good, you go for it. And if he didn't see that we weren't good, then he wouldn't have traded for Palmieri. He wouldn't have traded for Zajac. He would have just stayed pat and went for depth moves if he didn't think we were ready. And he said if we're all good, you're going for it, and we went for it. And look, we were this bad, like I said, for Pajot last year, and then
I can't wait for the urinating tree video to come out.
What urinating tree video?
Well, he already released one on the freaking trade deadline, and his thoughts were very similar to what we're saying right now. But, dude, I don't know.
What did he say?
He said, especially regarding like the trade, he's Lou being ready and all that crap. But the question is are those two, Palmieri and Zajac, gonna mesh? Zajac's done pretty well in the first.
He never said that. I think he said more, are they going to get us over the hump?
Yeah, that's my point. Are they going to mesh?
I think we're still going to do very, very good. It's just I have the same question. Is he going to get us over the hump? Not that they're going to mesh necessarily.
Well, meshing is a big part of production.
I know
which
that.
Gets you over the hump.
But here's the thing. No one thought the Pajot was going to mesh.
That's so incorrect.
7 games after when we lost 7 games in a row.
At the beginning of the season, when I saw Pajot being the free agent, I literally called it from the beginning of the season.
I know.
So the New York Islanders need Jean-Gabriel Pajot. Even when we lost 7 games, I knew he was perfect fit for the team, and sure enough, look at what he is.
Look at Palmieri, too. You could see that same thing.
You can, but... He's been on 3 different line combinations. Pajot is on 1. You have to find what people...
Pajot hasn't been on 1. Pajot has wingers that are different. Pajot is just a third-line center.
So last year. Last year in the regular season and into the playoffs, he played with 1 line. And those players were Beauvillier and Kunakal, occasionally Komarov.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think...
Gotta find someone that they work with.
I know. You gotta find someone who they work with.
I love Nelson, Wallstrom, and Palmieri, by the way. I love Zajac, Barzal, and Eberle, but I got to see more production.
Yeah.
I know they've only played 4 games and they have 1 goal each, but
here's the thing: Pajot at the beginning, the lines were he wasn't meshing perfectly well in the 7 games at the beginning of the season when we were losing, or else we probably would have been winning more, at least 1. So I mean,
he was meshing. What are you talking about?
I can look at the stats right now.
In those losses, I know he had at least 2 goals. I hope you know that.
In those losses, he had 2 goals. Okay, so in 7 games, he had 2 goals.
I'm pretty sure 2 goals and 2 assists in those 7 games.
Okay, let me see this. Okay,
I know he had 2 goals. I don't know about the assists, but I'm pretty sure he had something along those lines. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We both know he had 2 goals. Yeah, and he was playing insanely well in the power play and the penalty kill.
He had 2 goals. I think you're right with that.
I don't know the assists, but we'll check.
He had 2 goals. That's it. -6 in the 7 games.
Yes, and
yes.
What's your point?
He was not playing amazing on that team.
And if you wanted to ridicule each game, you know where that -6 comes from?
What?
You know how bad our penalty kill was those 7 games?
Yeah, but look.
He was playing on that penalty kill. That is not his fault.
Yeah, but still,
5-on-5 is what I look at prominently of where they're playing and how they're doing.
Yeah, but dude, like you were just saying, he had 2 assists as well. He only had 2 goals.
Listen, I was
2 in the first 2 games, and then after that, disappeared.
What do you mean disappeared?
Look, Lucas. I'm not saying that he's a bad player in the slightest. I love Pajot, but here's the thing: he didn't mesh right at the beginning, just like that. It took a little bit, and look, that's what's gonna happen with Palmieri and Zajac because the scheme is very specific.
Well, I agree with you until you get to everybody on board. That's what the Islanders are known for. Everyone's got to be on board. And I'm sorry, with the way they've played, Mayfield, Bailey, certain other players, they don't look all in. You can't tell me they look all on board.
I know.
At this exact moment, the past
Trotz
2 weeks,
said that some people didn't want to come for the challenge at one time.
And that's my point. We will not, with the Islanders scheme, they will not do jack shit unless everyone's on board.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can name 5-6 players that I just don't think are showing up every night, and that's a problem.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So but you can't blame this on Trotz. I'm not gonna blame it on Trotz. Look, the team would be absolutely dog shit if Trotz wasn't here.
I'm not saying they wouldn't.
I know. But here's the thing. I do think that Trotz needs to make some moves, make some line combination moves, not trades, but he needs to do something because this is the way that they've been playing. He said it himself, unacceptable, and they got to do something. They do. I think you put even from switching up that first line. If you split up Eberle with Barzal, do something because they haven't been playing good, and I think out of all the season, Eberle and Barzal stayed together. I think you might want to mix that up.
Well, you've heard my line combination.
I might want to see Palmieri there instead of Eberle, and then get.
When healthy, you know what my line combinations are.
I would like to see Palmieri, Bo, and Barzy.
You know what I'd like to see? Fourth line as normal, and this is with Clutterbuck and Bailey healthy.
Yeah.
Third line. Palmieri, Peugeot, and Wallstrom. That's a no-brainer. Okay. Second line is Brock, Zajac, and Bo, and then you definitely Brock on the second, and then definitely Barzal and Eberle on the first, and then Brock on the second, and then you have 3 players left: Zajac, Bailey, and Bo. I wouldn't put Bailey and Zajac on the second. And of course you want Bo up top with Barzal and Eberle. But then the second line becomes
liability.
Yes. So you kind of have to.
I don't think so though. I think Bailey would be fine with those guys.
Okay, so then run that, or you run Bo, Brock, and Zajac.
At the end of the day, I like Bo. I don't think he's a top 6 forward. I think he's more of a bottom 6 guy. He's always played well with Peugeot. And I think you put him with Peugeot. Peugeot.
So you're saying keep the lines I just said. Switch. So have the fourth line. Then the third line becomes Bo, Peugeot, Wallstrom. Second line becomes Palmieri, Brock,
Bailey. And I would keep the Zajac on the first line.
Again, I'd be fine with that. But I don't think.
Or you put Palmieri on the first line with those two, and then you put Zajac on the second line. Sorry.
I guess that'd be fine. Again, I don't think it's the first line's the problem. I think that our depth scoring is atrocious, and Matt Barzal feels like. Listen, when we're not getting depth, when we get depth scoring, you see how free Barzal is and how much better.
We have a lack of left-handed shots, which is.
I mean, I'm a left-handed shot.
I know. But we got a lack of it on the team now.
I am on the team.
Yes, but so the fourth line, the fourth line's fine. I don't know. I feel like we got Palmieri, and I was expecting him to go on the first line automatically, and I want to see that.
But we're in agreement. We want to see some changes.
I want to see that. I want to see Palmieri on that first line.
To be honest
maybe even put Zajac.
I wouldn't even mind some defensive pair changes. Not saying the first one, but the other two.
Yes.
Letty and Mayfield.
Dobson and Green have been pretty decent.
Yes. But then that last pairing, Letty and Mayfield, has been the liability of the year.
They have. Letty, even though he's putting up points, is a defensive liability I've seen.
So is freaking... He tries to skate his way out of trouble every time instead of chipping it out. And Mayfield does the same thing thinking he's freaking Cale Makar, okay?
No, it's just...
It's tough to switch the other two pairings, but maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe bench Mayfield, switch it up, give Letty a new pairing, and see what happens.
But I think we should bench Andrew Ladd. I think that's no, but in all seriousness, I think Palmieri, we got him as someone that I'm very excited for, that I was very excited for, and I think like a good line of Brock, Palmieri, and Bailey, I think is very good. I think that's a good line. I think you move Bo down to the third line, sorry, with Wallstrom and Pajot, because that's been clicking. And then you have Zajac, who's been clicking with Barzell and Eberle on the first line, at least a little bit.
Not wrong.
I think Zajac's solid. He's a solid veteran presence with those two guys, and Zajac can do something very, very good. But yeah, that's our little rant on the New York Islanders.
I feel like we just hop into like where the league's at right now. I think we just get into some power rankings and
then we're gonna
go over this week. Not where we're at in the season. Give me your top 5 of how they've been in their past 10 games.
Colorado.
I know Colorado's 9-1. That's automatic first.
Colorado is so good. There's nothing bad I could say about the Colorado Avalanche at this moment. Made great trades at the deadline.
And don't give me a team that's in the bottom 10.
Don't give you a team in the bottom 10?
No, give me a team that actually is making a push for the playoffs, that has been or in a playoff spot, that has been very good in their top past 10. Colorado's a unanimous 1.
Okay, I'm going to go with Colorado at 1. I'm going to go Pittsburgh at 2. I think Pittsburgh is being very hot at the moment, and they're 7-2-1 in their last 10, and they're a team that I'm scared for. They're going to catch up to the New York Islanders. They're only 1 point behind with a game in hand.
They're playing Buffalo today.
Yes, and they also play them like a lot more times. I'm going to go Vegas at 3. Nothing bad I could say about Vegas at the moment. Vegas has been very good. Not going to say anything else about that. Vegas, near the top. They're on a 5-game win streak at the moment. So they're hot as a pistol. Next one I'm going to go with is... probably the... I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto's been putting it on recently. I know it's a bad division up there, but 6-2-2 in the last 10. No slouch there.
What's your 5
and then? My 5 is going to be the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
As I think they're starting to get hot right now.
Right now, beating the Devils 4-0, and
plus
they're 6-2-2 in their past 10. So
plus 28 goal differential at the moment. They're doing very good, very hot, and yeah, I'm a little bit scared for the Islanders as they're getting heated up at the right time.
My first is obviously Colorado. It's a unanimous 1. 2, I'm giving the Rangers. They've been blistering. I think we're going to have a very similar list here. 3, Pittsburgh. Again, like you touched upon. 4, I'm going to throw it actually to Edmonton. Edmonton's picked up their game. They're 6-2-2 in their past 10. I'm starting to get some depth scoring other than freaking the god-tier duo of McDavid and Draisaitl. And number 5, I'm going to throw out... You know what? Give me the Winnipeg Jets. They're 6-3-1. I'm going to go a little different than you. They played very well as well. They're in the hunt.
Honorable mention. Ovechkin just scored.
Ovechkin's sitting at the top of his office. Put another blistering missile up over Carter. No, Carter Sharp's
number 729.
Yeah, he'll be the greatest goal scorer of all time. He'll get there. He's not gonna retire until he gets it.
No, he isn't. He's gonna be 50.
And he's still a top 5 player in the league. Prove me wrong.
It's ridiculous. Okay, that's gonna be it. Sorry for the little bit of a rant. We were planning on doing a little recap of the trade deadline and how like everyone's been doing in depth, but this was just we had to talk about the Islanders, blow off some steam. We will be back to a normal type of podcast next week on how like these teams are doing and how everything's been going well. But yeah, with that being said, thank you for listening in, and I'm Terrence.
And I'm Lucas.
And we'll see you in the next one. Sayonara.